In today's video, we're going to be talking about some misconceptions people have about the Philippines. With there being so many OFWs from the Philippines and so many Filipinos that have moved abroad, there are Filipinos spread out around the world. And to be honest, most people don't really know a lot about Filipino culture or what Filipino people are like, which is why there are some stereotypes and misconceptions, which we're going to be going through in this video. If you are a Filipino living abroad, you might have experienced a lot of people asking you about some of these misconceptions. And if you don't know a lot about Filipino culture, hopefully this video should educate you more about it. And even if you are Filipino and you know about all of these, hopefully you should just find it interesting hearing about this and hearing me react to this. The first misconception we're going to be looking at is that there aren't any rich Filipinos and that all Filipinos are poor. A lot of people just assume that because Philippines is a developing country that there aren't any rich Filipinos at all there, which of course is completely untrue. Now more than ever there are lots of wealthy Filipinos, and before the current pandemic the Philippines had the fastest growing economy in Asia, and I've noticed this firsthand from the first time I went to the Philippines until now. There's more cars on the roads, there's more houses, it's a lot more developed, and people seem to be a lot more well off now, although there is still a lot of poverty there. But then just because there is poverty and there are poor people, it doesn't mean there aren't wealthy people as well, and there's also middle class people. So don't just assume that all Filipinos are poor, or if you see a Filipino that they don't have a lot of money. The next misconception we're going to be looking at is that some people seem to think that Filipinos eat dog and that it's some kind of tradition there, when it really isn't. And this is probably because in some Asian countries like Vietnam and Korea, it is a bit of a delicacy to eat dog, but it's never been a tradition or anything in the Philippines to do this. And there are some really desperate people that would eat dog that don't have anything else to eat, and maybe some older generations have eaten dog as well. But it's not common at all, and it's actually completely illegal there. You can get prosecuted for killing or eating a dog. It's a shame that some people stereotype all Asians as being dog eaters when that really isn't the case, and especially not in the Philippines. The third misconception we're going to be looking at is that all Filipino women are gold diggers and that men should be careful before dating Filipino women because they might be after you just for your money. And this is really harsh to say this about all Filipino women. Just because there have been some people that have used men for their money doesn't mean that all Filipino women are like this. And in reality, Filipinos are some of the kindest and most loyal people in the world. Men, of course, should be careful, especially if you're a foreign man, before dating Filipino women, not to buy them loads of jewellery and loads of materialistic things until you get to know them, just because there have been some Filipino women that have used men for their money. But there will always be some women like this in a developing country where some people are desperate to do anything to get money. But it's important not to be worried about dating Filipino women just because there might be some that could be gold diggers. And Filipino women are actually really loyal to their husband and really take care of their husband culturally, and I think a lot more so than Western women, because it's like a Filipino trait that women really take care of their husbands. Another misconception we're going to be looking at is that people seem to expect that all Filipinos in interracial relationships and marriages are Filipino women with foreign men, and even Filipinos seem to think this as well. They seem to expect that everyone that's a half Filipino, they seem to expect that their mum's the Filipina and that their dad's the foreigner. Traditionally it has been more common for Filipino women to be married to foreigners than the other way around, but if we look at today, there's more Filipino men married to foreigners than there ever has been before, and especially now with the amount of multicultural countries there are, with Filipinos moving there, quite often Filipino men will marry other nationalities. And also there's lots of Filipino women that are married to foreign men that aren't just white men. There's Filipino women that are married to all different types of races and nationalities. And again, this is really common in multicultural countries, but also in the Philippines as well. Take my sister, for example. She now lives in the Philippines and she's married to a Filipino, completely crushing the stereotype. The last misconception we're going to be looking at is that a lot of people in the Middle East, and especially in developed Asian countries like Japan and Korea, seem to think that most Filipinos working abroad are working as maids or they're doing lower skilled jobs. This isn't really the case in Europe. In Europe we expect that most Filipinos are nurses that live abroad, and this is because in places like the UK it's actually really hard for Filipinos to get a work visa here, and the only sort of jobs that they can do here are to work as nurses. So it is actually true that most Filipinos here are nurses, but in other countries where it's maybe slightly easier to get a work visa, a lot of Filipinos will get lower skilled jobs just because it's a higher wage than it is in the Philippines. And now a lot of people just assume that all Filipinos do this, and that all Filipinos that are working abroad are working as a maid or a low skilled job. Now there's obviously nothing wrong with being a maid or doing a lower skilled job, and some people genuinely enjoy being maids, but it's just a shame that some people stereotype most Filipinos working abroad to do these sorts of jobs, especially since in the UK we really respect Filipinos for being nurses here. But some countries seem to be a bit more almost racist towards Filipinos. But it's not everyone that thinks like this. It's only some people in some countries that think this about Filipinos. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.